Yeah. Well, now it feels like home. Thank you all very much. What a shock you're for Trump. I'm going to fall over dead.
Ain't nothing changed, nothing new here to see. This ain't nothing but some political maneuvering.
America.
Welcome to the eulogy, eat it up. It's called political buffoonery.
Hey there, everybody, and welcome to This Week in DUMBmocracy, where we showcase some of the dumbest newsmakers of the week. We're about a year away from the most important election of our lifetime, since the last most important election of our lifetime. They seem to say that every year, right? And every year the stakes get higher and higher. So I thought it would be a good time, being that we're a year out from the 2024 election, to check in on the Republican primary to see where we stand here. And as things stand, as of the taping of this video, Donald Trump has run away with it. It's virtually over. But listen, it's never over till it's over. But it looks like it's over. Donald Trump has a 45-point lead, polling at close to 60%. It's crazy. There's a lot of other people in the race, too, that are polling at single digits. I mean, do we really consider them threats to anybody at this point, whether it be to DeSantis or to Trump? I'm not so sure, but there is a debate coming this week, and we'll have to see about that. And because there's a debate coming this week, I thought it would be a good time to talk about one of President Trump's most, how do I put this? The man's a troll. He's a troll candidate. I'm talking about Chris Christie, and I'm going to be talking about the latest speech he gave in Florida, where he basically scalded the crowd that was booing him mercilessly. We're going to get into all of that, but before we do, I'm going to ask you to please subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you don't miss any other shows. And if you like what you see in this or any of the other videos, be sure to smash that thumbs up button, like, comment, share the show with your friends, all that good stuff, because it feeds the YouTube algorithm.
Feed me, Seymour.
And man, is that bitch hungry. We need to start feeding that algorithm, get the show out there to more people. I would really appreciate your help in doing that. So we're going to get into these videos again. Chris Christie, in my opinion, a troll candidate. He's not really interested in being president. He's polling at 2.3% in the RCP average, which is an amalgamation of many different polls that were released recently from different polling entities.
That sucks. Wow.
Why is he still here, if not to just run his vendetta against Donald Trump? This speech in Florida at a candidates forum is the latest example of how Chris Christie is not serious about being president. He's only serious about trying to get revenge on Donald Trump. Here's the reception that Christie received at the Florida Freedom Summit.
Yeah. Well, now it feels like home. Thank you all very much. Let me first thank the chairman and everyone here. Yep. Look, what a shock you're for Trump. I'm going to fall over dead. Now look, every one of those boos, every one of those catcalls, every one of those yells will not keep it, yes, sure, will not solve one problem we face in this country, will not solve, and will not make this country better. Your anger against the truth is reprehensible.
So this is classic Chris Christie, in my opinion. He's been doing this shtick since 2013. It's normally been directed towards political opponents. Now it's being directed towards voters that he's trying to win over to become president, or supposedly trying to win over. Now, Christie has always had this air of smugness, arrogance, audaciousness that worked in New Jersey, especially when he was trying to slam Democrats and those opponents of his on his way to becoming governor of New Jersey. But he's turned his ire towards Republican voters, the Republican base basically in Florida, attending this summit. Clearly, he is anti-Trump. We all know this. We've seen it. We've heard it. But to act superior in this way, that he is the arbiter of what is true and not, and to claim that Donald Trump is not presidential by acting in this unpresidential manner doesn't exactly seem to be the way to go if you want to win.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
That's why I call this a troll campaign. That's why I think that Chris Christie is not in this to win it. He may be in this for an MSDNC spot. He may be in this for a seat at the CNN table, doing election analysis. Or, for all we know, he may be in it for what he thinks is the better side of history. That he thinks that this Trump thing is just going to be a fad. And when things turn back to normal, he'll be the one to say, I told you so at the end of the day. But read the room, Chris. This is not the way to do things if you want to be treated well in the years to come after this election. People will remember the way that you treat them, especially in politics. This, my friends, is what I like to call political capital, political credibility. Chris Christie has used up all of his political capital in going after Donald Trump since 2020, since even before that. What that means is, because his political capital is near zero, he could be the most conservative conservatives. He may be right on every single point. But that's not going to matter because he has lost the good faith of the electorate in his attacks against Donald Trump over the past few years. Perception is reality in politics. The perception of you is that you are antagonistic for the sake of being antagonistic or to just run a vendetta against someone. And believe me, listen, I'm an Italian from Brooklyn, New York. I know vendetta when I see it. This is vendetta from Chris Christie. It's an obsession bordering on lunacy. And the thought of Donald Trump has hijacked Chris Christie's campaign to the point where all he is known for now is bashing Trump. He may have good ideas, and listen, this is a 15-minute speech. I encourage you to listen to the whole thing. He does, once he gets going, give a decent speech, but he's just not handling this the right way.
When you think about the problems, that our country and this world is facing, when you think about that, this type of pettiness is beneath the process of electing a president.
That's a point I would actually agree with. But let's talk about who's perpetuating the pettiness. It might be a chicken or an egg question here about who started it between Christie or Trump, and I'm sure we can go back 4 or 5 years and see exactly what it was. Was it because Chris Christie wasn't appointed Attorney General? Was it because Chris Christie got COVID from President Trump, allegedly, in 2020? That's Christie's claim, at least. Does it have anything to do with the president's handling of the post-election activities after the 2020 election, which Chris Christie seems to claim nowadays? Your guess is as good as mine, and you're entitled to believe what you want to believe. But I respectfully submit to all of you that when you perpetuate pettiness in debates by calling someone Donald Duck for not showing up, you're just as much a part of the problem of the pettiness and the unseriousness of picking this candidate as anybody else is. Kind of makes Chris Christie a hypocrite, doesn't it? He's almost relishing going at people in this crowd. It's part of that combative nature, that bullying that he does in all of his political career. But that just doesn't work anymore. And that's in part because Donald Trump has kind of pulled back the curtain on the arrogance and the audaciousness of political mainstream thought and what people would call maybe Republicans in name only, or the swamp, or whatever you want to call it, political establishment. Chris Christie is a relic of that time. And it's not a time from that long ago. But that is a relic because we've lived through 8 years of a Trump era where the rules of engagement have changed. Finally, the last thing I'll say about this point is that when Chris Christie makes the personality of the front-running candidate and the character of that candidate his main talking point, when he then goes back to talk about the pettiness of talking about the personalities involved or whatever he was talking about here, He's moving goalposts. If Chris Christie entered this campaign talking about issues, he'd have more political credibility when he's chastising this crowd. But he has zero, because he made this about character. He made this an anti-Trump campaign. And when people act negatively to that framing, changing the framing makes you look like a buffoon.
Yeah. And as people watch today, if your arguments are so strong, if your arguments are so great and mine are so bad, then just keep quiet. Let me make my awful arguments, and then you can just reject them out of hand. But the problem is you fear the truth. The problem is you want to shout down any voice that says anything different than what you want to hear. And you can continue to do it, and believe me, it doesn't bother me one bit.
Little tip to everybody out there trying to analyze this video with me. When somebody says that something doesn't bother them one bit, it bothers them a little bit. Just maybe a little bit. Chris Christie, again, is chiding this crowd because they're beating him at his game. Trump is beating him at his game. Trump is riding high, close to 60%. Christie hasn't moved. In fact, his poll numbers have basically flatlined. They started out at the first debate back in late August around 3%. He's around 2.3 right now. There's been no upward movement from Chris Christie. His tactics haven't worked. He wants to talk about people shouting down ideas. He didn't make his campaign about ideas. He made it about Trump. You reap what you sow, Governor. And boy, are you sowing quite a harvest right now. Like what you see so far? Go ahead and smash that thumbs up button. Also, leave us a comment and tell us what you're thinking. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another show. Now, you want to talk about somebody with all the political capital in the world right now in this Republican primary? It's Donald Trump. I'm not saying that's going to translate well into the general election in 2024. Who knows at this point? Nobody really knows. But here in this Republican primary, Trump has all the political capital he needs to engage the petty that Chris Christie has brought to his doorstep. We know already from 2016 and 2020, Trump revels in the petty. That's his wheelhouse. That's his game. Christie thought that he could beat Trump at his own game, and he was sorely mistaken.
I mean, I heard they booed Christie off the stage today. Is that true? I really say, what's he doing? Look, you know, we're all in a party. We want to win this race. What's he doing? The guy's, he's at 1.5. Okay? Who got...
Well, technically he's at a little bit more. I would say he's about 2.5. But who am I to quibble?
Got more boos? Who got louder boos? Christie or Ada Hutchins? Christie. No, I heard they virtually booed him off the stage. Because you know what? What's it all about? He's just doing it because I didn't give him a job in the administration. What's he doing? And why would I do a debate when Christie, sir, I'm sorry, he is not a fat pig, okay? This man, he said, he is not a fat pig.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I'm laughing. Listen, I'm not one to weight shame. I carry around my share, you know, and probably more than my share. The way he set that up, though, to me is more important than the joke itself. And I'm going to let him finish the joke, of course. Don't you worry. But the way he set that up was, why should I debate with someone who can't get the support of even, let's say, 10% of the electorate? What is the utility for Trump to get into that debate? The debate between Christie and Trump would devolve into what we're seeing right here. Jokes, name-calling, bullying. You got two people that have big personalities, two very arrogant, audacious people going head-to-head, and the fur would fly. We know that.
No, it's true. And you can't use the term fat. You're allowed to use the word pig, but not fat. No, the man just said, he's a fat pig. And I said, no, he's not a fat pig. So now the press can't kill me because all I'm doing is responding. I'm responding. He is not a fat pig. We're 1 year from Election Day. We need to put every dollar and every bit of energy into winning in November. We don't need to have people that are at 1%, 2%, 3%.
You see, he's discounting Chris Christie because people aren't getting behind his campaign. It's not worth Trump's time to engage a Chris Christie. You know, if Chris Christie wasn't Chris Christie, he could actually be doing well in this race. He definitely has command of facts. He understands policy. He can articulate his positions well. It's this obsession with Trump, this lunacy, that has hijacked his chances. You see, if Christie wasn't so combative, voters would be more receptive to listening to him. If voters were more receptive to listening to him, they would hear that Christie knows what he's talking about in a lot of respects. And if they actually heard him, not just listened, but heard him, he might be doing better than 2.3%. But all voters hear is Donald Trump is a bad, bad man. That's it. And voters have heard that from Democrats for ages now. So when Chris Christie uses the same arguments that Democrats have been using for ages, it turns off the electorate. They turn off their ears. They don't listen to him anymore. And it just makes Chris Christie even more angry. And he lashes out at crowds just like this. That's the issue with Chris Christie. That's why he's polling at 2%. And that's why he's going nowhere in this race except maybe to CNN or MSDNC in a couple of months. But hey, that's just my opinion. Let me know what you guys think. Be sure to leave a comment. Tell me if you agree or disagree about my analysis of Chris Christie. And while you're here, please subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you don't miss any other shows, and smash that thumbs up button. Share the show with your friends, all that good stuff. I want to keep having conversations just like this about what makes people unelectable, along with other shenanigans and buffoonery that we see every day this week in DUMBmocracy.
All views and opinions expressed here are not necessarily of the mainstream media and may offend some listeners. It's called political buffoonery.